We're talking about exchange rates on 6.2. Sorry about the blinding pink paper. That's what I had. So, when talking about exchange rates, for example, we have $1 can get you 2 real. And if I want to figure out what the price of dollars per real is, I'm sorry, for one real per dollar, I'm just simply going to divide both sides by 2 to get this side down to 1. So 1 real would equal 50 cents. If we want to see how the dollar appreciates and depreciates, we're doing it in terms of the other currency. So before, if we have $1 equals 2 real, and after something goes on in the market, we get 5 real for our dollar, the dollar appreciated. It got stronger. That means you get more of this currency for your dollar. And whenever that happens, the stronger dollar will allow us to purchase more goods and services from that other country with their currency. If the dollar depreciates against the real, you would take $1 equals to 2 real. Then after, if I just divide both these by 2, I'm sorry, not divide by 2, if I just look at the exchange rate changing to a 1-to-1 ratio, now I get fewer reals per dollar. So my dollar would depreciate and I wouldn't be able to buy as many goods and services from that country. So anytime you're trying to find exchange rates, just get it to a matter of 1 or a figure of 1 for each side. So if 1 real equals to $4, divide both by 4, then a dollar would equal 0.25 real. Same thing if it's 1 real for $5. Just divide that by 5 and divide that by 5, and $1 would equal 0.2 or 20, or not 20 cents, 0.20 real. Okay? All right. So as you take this kind of information and want to sort it and solve for topic questions like in 6.3, we have to go back to our ideas of surpluses and shortages. So if we have our old supply and demand graphs, and remember wherever they cross, supply and demand right here, that's our equilibrium. Now, if anything is a price that's above equilibrium, that means that it is going to be a surplus. So if I just look at where demand crosses that price line and drop it down, I can see that demand would be right here and supply would be right here. And I can drop that down and see, okay, well, supply is to the right. Remember, we increase right and decrease left. So there's more supply than demand, and that's going to be a surplus. The opposite is true for a shortage. If we have equilibrium price, and all of a sudden we're set at this price level, and I can see where that price level crosses the supply line, supply is right here, and where that price crosses the demand curve, that demand's right here. And so since demand is to the right of supply, that means there's more demand than supply, and that would equal a shortage. So what they've done is taken exchange rates and turned them into questions like that. Shortage and surplus from just a second ago. So if they're going to do it, sorry, back to the blinding pink paper, throughout topic 6.3 questions. So the first question, free-floating exchange rates is in the first question. And I forgot to cover that in the lecture to my B2 class. So sorry, guys. So if someone says free-floating, that just allows supply and demand to work. Nobody has fixed exchange rates. You'll see something like floating exchange or variable exchange, whatever. It just means supply and demand can work with the currencies. Okay? All right, that's question 2. Now, question number 1. They're going to give you a scenario with $1 equaling to 6 yen, and then equilibrium is where $1 equals to 7 yen. Now, if I drew this little graph over here to try and help me solve this one. So I was thinking to myself, okay, I need to put 7 as equilibrium, and we have a price of 6. So I know that this price of 6 is below the 7, and supply is less than demand. So more people want it than there is available. So it's a shortage, and it will have to appreciate. So what that means is if the exchange rate is $1 for 6 yen, that means the dollar will have to appreciate, and you'll have to get 7 yen eventually when it comes back to equilibrium. So that's how you kind of solve these weird-looking questions that I didn't really go over in class at all because I forgot that they were on there. So question number 3 is going to be the same type of thing. Give you 1 peso for 0.2. That's the current rate that they're going at. The equilibrium is 1 peso for 0.18 real. So I know that this is equilibrium, and right now we're above equilibrium at 0.2. So what happens? We have demand where it crosses that 0.2 is less than supply where it crosses that 0.2. So that means there's more supply than there is demand. So that means there is a surplus, and it will eventually have to depreciate to get back down to equilibrium. The fourth question, they do this again. So they're telling you there's 1 rupee for every 3 yen. And there's going to be some more numbers where they have 70 and 30 as the supply and the demand lines. Where's that actual question at? Anyways, so if it's equilibrium is at 7.5 and they tell you right now it's at 3 for 1, just go down to the 3 and see where you end up with the 70 and the 30 and subtract them, and you'll end up with a shortage of 40 rupees. Okay. All right. I hope that helps with the 6.3 topic questions and 6.2 exchange rates.